Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you do not already know, my name is Brooke and I am currently a character attendant at Walt Disney World. I am on the Disney College program or the Cultural Exchange program because I am from Canada. I've been a character attendant for about 2 months now. I absolutely love it. I'm statused in Magic Kingdom. I've gotten to work with a ton of different characters. I've gotten to work inside, outside dining. I've now worked in Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom. I have a shift in Hollywood Studios next week. I did my training in Epcot, so I've done a lot of the parks, or I will be doing a lot of the different areas. I've worked with almost every character in every character location, almost every character location in Magic Kingdom. My goal is to hit them all before I leave. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, I thought I would answer some questions for you guys about being a character attendant. Because I know a lot of people do have a lot of questions about it and are just very curious about the role in general. Also, I do want to state right at the beginning of this video, I am going to be 100% following Disney character integrity throughout this video. I still work for the Disney Company. I respect how hard they work to keep character integrity alive, and 100% will be following character integrity. So I will not be defining any terms. I will just be using the specific language. If you don't understand something, I'm sure you can go look it up, but please do not comment anything down below either that does not abide with the character integrity rules or guidelines. And if you do not understand character integrity, you can also go look that up yourself. But anyway, what I did is I put on my Instagram story. Go follow me if you haven't already. My Instagram is BrookeRogers97. I put on there for you guys to ask me questions about what it is like to be a character attendant, or questions you just have about the role in general. So I'm just going to answer some of those today because I think they're questions that you guys are really interested in. I also wanted to mention I have a video that was posted the other day about what is in my character attendant pouch, which is the little pouch character attendants keep on them. So if you guys are interested in anything like that, what I carry on me while I am working, make sure you guys go check that out as well. So we are going to start right at the bottom. Who is your favorite character to work with? And I think my absolute favorite characters to work with are Mickey and Minnie. I absolutely love working with them at Town Square Theater. They work so well together. They're so sweet. I love the interactions that happen there, and just the way they act is so cute, and I love their birthday outfits that they're in right now at Town Square Theater. Definitely my favorites. You just get some of the most pure character interactions. It can also be absolutely crazy, but I really do love working there because of that in some ways, just because I always love having something to do. I also love working at Crystal Palace with the Winnie the Pooh characters. They've been my favorites for quite a while now. I love them so much. I love working with them. Some of the cast that does get to work there, that I do get to work with, is absolutely amazing, and it's usually pretty good hours too at those two locations. It's usually 6 to 8 hour shifts, more usually on that 8-hour shift side, which is a really nice length of time I think for a shift. I think 10 hours is a little long and you get a little emotionally drained. 6 hours is a little short. You could probably go longer. 8 hours I believe is a really nice amount of time for a shift. What characters have you worked with? I have worked with a ton of characters. Everyone from Mickey and Minnie, Winnie the Pooh characters, Donald, Goofy, the princesses, the stepsisters, Fairy Godmother. I'm working with Buzz Lightyear tomorrow. Today I worked with Scrooge and the Chipmunks at Animal Kingdom. I've worked with a ton of characters. A ton. Pretty much every location, with a few exceptions. I haven't done Cinderella's Royal Table yet. And where else haven't I done? I could probably name you the locations I haven't done faster than I could the ones that I have. So I've done a bunch of locations. Do you have a heartwarming story of a guest meeting a character? Also, I miss you. I miss you too, Emma. And the answer to that is, of course, I get heartwarming stories on a daily basis. There's some stuff that it just brightens your day, and it's absolutely magical. I think one of the best, there's just so many to think. I'm trying to think of one to tell you guys. Without getting into too much detail, because I know there are stories that I do want to tell in other videos as like whole videos, and they're going to take me a while to tell. But I think there's something magical about a princess, or a kid meeting a princess, dressed as that princess and idolizing that princess. When I do work at Fairy Tale Hall, I see a lot of the princesses dressed as, the princesses as in the children. I call the children princesses, so that's confusing come up. So I'll see like a little girl dressed as Cinderella come to meet Cinderella, and Cinderella's her favorite, and it is extremely heartwarming to see because the princesses will get down on the ground and interact with them and just give that little bit of extra time with them most of the time, just because they can see how much they mean to the kids, and it's just really sweet to see, and it does sometimes bring tears to your eyes, just some of the stuff that you see that happens on stage. What did they ask during your interview for an attendant? I'm applying for spring 2020. Guess what? My attendant interview is fully online. If you're interested in becoming an attendant, I will link it down below because start to finish, I filmed the entire thing, so everything is online. Who's your favorite friend to spend the day with? Once again, like I already said, Mickey and Minnie are absolutely amazing. Favorite character to work with, favorite character to work with. What are your go-to talking points when meeting characters / helping a guest? Well, one cool thing about the character attendant's job is that I don't necessarily need talking points during the interaction. It's the character's job to come up with some sort of activity for the guests to do during that interaction. So my job is to help facilitate animating that activity. So explaining to the guest what the character is trying to do if they don't understand. So basically it's like a game of charades. If the characters cannot talk, if there's doing like this means happy birthday, or if they're pointing out like a celebration button or something, I'd be like, oh, what are you celebrating today? Something like that, along those lines. And it's a very important step, because if the character is trying to act something out and no one can understand, then the interaction isn't going to go as smoothly. But if I'm just sitting there in the background kind of being the voice a little bit for the characters in that manner, then I'm still considered secondary, and a lot of people don't even really process that I'm saying these things. They just kind of hear them and consider it a part of the conversation with the character, which is super important, if that makes sense to you guys. But it's just something that I do. When I am talking to guests, if I am in line or something, I always say something like, oh, what's your favorite ride today that you did today, or what's your favorite thing about today? I'll comment on their outfit, on their ears, something like that, short talking points. Normally when I'm having a conversation with a guest, just me and the guest without a character there, it's a very short conversation, just because it is kind of in passing as they're waiting in line to meet the character. If I find the character struggling a little bit, or if I notice something right off the bat that the character can work off of, I'll point it out. So for example, I'll be like, oh, Minnie, did you see that her shoes match your dress, or something like that, just to kind of help out. But really the guests are the ones who provide you with those talking points. So if they're wearing a cool shirt, if they're wearing particular ears, if they have on a very unique outfit or something very unique with them, if they're carrying a little plush or something, put that into the conversation. The guests are the one who provide the talking points, and that's why every interaction, although everyone gets around the same amount of time, every interaction can be very unique, because there's different talking points to go off of all the time. What's your favorite part about being a character attendant? This is difficult because there are a lot of parts I love, but I think one of my favorite parts is definitely helping out those interactions and animating for the characters. This was the thing that I thought I would struggle with the most, to be honest, but I find you do need a couple sets to get into rhythm with characters. It is easier once you've worked with those characters before, so Mickey and Minnie I pretty much have down pat now. After my first set of the day, I'm back in the rhythm of exactly how they're trying to communicate, and some characters are more difficult than others to understand what they're trying to animate. But if you're familiar with the movie that they are in, or show that they're in, it's usually pretty easy to kind of figure it out. And then there are also very generic things that you'll learn based on location, or based on just general things. Like I said, the happy birthday one, every character knows that, and even though the guests might not understand what this is, you can help them figure it out. So just animating for those characters is something that I absolutely love doing, because it just helps me feel like I'm truly part of the experience. How do you deal with kids who are afraid of characters? There are a couple ways you can deal with this, and it all just comes with practice, and obviously the characters can see too that the kids are afraid of them. So if they're at dining, I'll get them to place the children at the back of the table instead of the front. They usually get them to place them at the front so that if they are at dining, they can get up to see them easily. If they're at the back and they're scared, chances are if they're looking at the character from afar, they'll be a lot more okay with it. Another thing I do is I'll try to distract them. So peekaboo's a really good one. They tend to love that. They'll like look at you instead of the character for photos and that. When they're going up to the characters, sometimes I'll get down on their level and I come with them. The characters also will get down on their level. They'll hold out their hand first so they can touch their hand. If I feel like they're still very hesitant, I'll go up, I'll touch the hand, I'll get one of the parents to touch the character's hand, give them a high five, something like that. And usually they're very timid at first, but once they do that, they'll get a little more into it. Sometimes you don't get that full hug that the parents obviously would like to see, but if I get a high five and a smile, I say that's a good interaction if the child was scared before of the character. And as long as they're going out not crying, I feel like we've done a good job in keeping them calm. Sometimes you just can't control it though. Kids do get scared of characters. Goofy, Tigger, Launchpad, I've seen a lot of crying kids with just because they are tall, they are big. What are your general hours? I get very on average almost every week 35 to 40 hours a week, and that can be any time during the day though. So most shifts are split into two. There'll be a morning shift and a night shift. The morning shift will go from anywhere between like 7:30 and 9 o'clock till about 3 to about 6 o'clock, somewhere in there, and then the night shift will take over, so they'll come bump you out and then they'll be there until park close. So it could be as late as like 2 a.m. depending on when it is and when the park closes that night, which is definitely something that I hate working. I love working those morning/day shifts. I always try to trade for those. And shifts are usually either 5 hours long, 6 hours long, 6 hours 45 minutes long, 7 hours long, 8.5 hours long, or 10 hours long. They're very set shifts, so they're pretty much the exact same shifts every day because the characters pretty much run on the exact same schedule every day, so they're very kind of structured. I read online character attendants can ride rides with characters. Is this true? Not even a little bit. Every morning the stepsisters usually do a set where they ride the carousel. I have to wait at the exit. If a character is riding a ride, which sometimes does happen, the character attendant cannot ride with them. Not at all. A lot of who's my favorite character to work with. How does making magic moments differ in this role from merchandise? So in merchandise, a magical moment usually revolves something about giving away a product for free. I cannot do that at all this year because I'm not working with any of the merchandise. So a magical moment usually has something to do with the character, whether it's letting a family in early, letting them see. We do a thing at Pete's Silly Show where the first family of the day comes in, gets to meet all 4 characters at once. Consider that a magical moment. Or at the end of the day, they'll do something special. There aren't too many magical moments that I have. I found the magical moments in merchandise were a lot bigger and kind of more like dramatic, I guess, than the ones as a character attendant, but as a character attendant I do get to see small magical moments every single day versus a big magical moment once in a while. What are some tips on interacting with characters? My biggest tip, I'm going to do an entire video on this, but my biggest tip is have a talking point. Have something you want to talk to them about, whether it's, oh, I like your dress today or something like that, or oh, with Russell and Doug you can be like, oh, I'm going to go on a wilderness explorer adventure later, something like that, and try to just communicate the best you can with the characters because they're looking for a talking point too. You're both looking for a talking point, so just try to work your best together. I'm sure it'll be fine as long as you have maybe just a little something in the back of your head that you want to talk to them about. Don't go up there and be silent. The worst thing you can do is just be like, or like try to like give animated charades actions back to them. You can talk. Please talk. If they're charading I love you, you don't have to charade back I love you. You can be like, oh, I love you too. That kind of stuff. It's not necessary to play charades back to them. I see that happen a lot. What is a typical shift as an attendant like? Well, I will give you There's multiple different shifts you can get as an attendant. I am going to go once again into detail with this in a video later because there's so many that you can do. But an average shift as just a basic attendant, there's breaker shifts, there's spare shifts, that kind of stuff. Just a basic attendant, you are going to go in the morning, you're going to check in at base, you are going to get a radio or a clicker or whatever you need, you're going to go to your location, you're going to drop off your bags, you're going to go on set with the characters, you're going to write down their set schedule, when they need to to be on and off stage, and you're just going to stand with them and kind of help the guests interact. You're going to close the line when it needs to be closed. You're going to tell the characters when they have 5 minutes or so left, and that's pretty much it. There's a breaker that's going to come, give you your breaks. You'll come back out. You're working with the same character the entirety of the day when you're just like a normal character attendant normal shift. So if you're working with Mickey and Minnie, you start at 7 or 8 or whenever with Mickey and Minnie, and you go right till 4:15 with Mickey and Minnie. So you're there, you'll get your breaks, you'll come back, and you'll continue doing it. So it's nice to have a variety of shifts in different places because you can work with any character, but on a specific day, you're only working with one specific character, or two if they do meet together. Who is the most fun to work with and who can be a diva? So I've talked about who's the most fun to work with character-wise, as I'm assuming this means like character personalities. I would say maybe Daisy could be like the sassiest. I wouldn't consider anyone really a diva necessarily, maybe like the stepsisters because they can also be pretty sassy. Yeah. What's the best and worst thing about the job? I've already talked about what the best thing about the job is. The worst thing about the job, I would definitely say is sometimes the guests. They're sometimes the best part and they're sometimes the worst part, and it's just the way it works. Sometimes interactions are wonderful, sometimes stuff goes wrong. Sometimes guests will try to get the character to act out of character on purpose, or they'll do something that is creepy, inappropriate to the character, and that is probably one of the worst situations to have to deal with, just because it's uncomfortable for everyone involved and it really makes you hate the guest who did it, and I don't understand how people could ever do something like that, but it's something that happens more often than you'd think, unfortunately. Has any guest ever threatened the character attendant because the character leaves? Oh yeah, every day, all the time. I've had guests swear at me, I've had guests get down on their hands and knees, please, for my baby. No. The character leaves and the guests will be furious sometimes, and it's just part of the role. It's something you have to deal with, and you can't let it come to heart, like take it to heart, because it'll destroy you, and a lot of it's stupid. They'll say something stupid and they'll probably say something that's not true, like, oh, it was my favorite character. Well, then you should have gotten here sooner. Why weren't you here first part of the day if you really wanted to see them? They say a lot of stuff like that, and you just have to learn to let it go, ignore it, and keep a positive attitude. And then final question, I heard that Disney isn't going to let CPs be character attendants anymore. From what I've heard, I have not had this confirmed by Disney, but from what I've heard is almost 99.9% true, is that that is true as of the next drop for applications, so spring 2020, character attendant will no longer be an option because it is a very difficult role to do, but also because the part-time and full-time wait list is so long. They keep letting CPs in, which is taking away from part-timers and full-timers. Also, there are a lot of sub-training things for a character attendant, so there are specialty locations that need training, there's load training stuff that you can only request to even be trained for 90 days after you already worked there. So I, for example, wouldn't even be allowed to be trained in that sort of stuff because I'm only here for just over 100 days, so they'd never train me in that, whereas a full-timer, part-timer, they would train in that, and it just makes it a little more flexible for them for scheduling, so I understand why they're doing it. However, the answer to that is, as far as I know, there will be no more CPs that are going to be character attendants after the fall advantage or fall are currently done their program. And that is that Q&A. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Go check out my channel and subscribe. All the videos I talked about will be linked down below for you guys. But I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and have a magical rest of your day.